Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey, and today I'm here to talk about how the iPhone SE 2022 is for poor people. Not really. And you can see I've got the red lights on behind me. We're going to have a little bit of a rant today because it's very frustrating listening to a lot of the criticism, a lot of the comments, a lot of the complaints about the iPhone SE 2022 because one, it's $429. Ergo, only people who don't have any money want to buy it because they don't want to buy the more expensive phone. And it's completely not true whatsoever. Oddly enough, the phone is actually a very good value phone and it has top-notch performance because it has the A15 Bionic processor, which is the most powerful phone processor in the world. Although you don't really need all that in the tiny package. But we're going to talk about a few things here today because I think a lot of people, and when you look around Twitter, you look around YouTube, you look around a lot of the tech space, a lot of tech creators, a lot of tech reviewers, one, they would never use this phone in the first place. So I get I have a lot of eye rolling that goes on when I see this stuff because they would never use it, they don't see the applicability or why somebody would want it. And I think a lot of them don't look at numbers because, well, I do. I look at numbers a lot because that says a lot about the performance of the sales on a phone and how much people are interested in it. And you'd probably be very surprised to hear that the year the iPhone SE 2020 came out, it was one of the best-selling phones in the United States, and it sold about 24.3 million units. Placing that in perspective, in 2020, all of the S20 phones, I think, sold about 35 million total, and that's S20, 20 Plus, and 20 Ultra, which are considered premium, highly desirable phones that, of course, is not something that somebody who is poor is going to go buy. So when we look at the iPhone SE 2022, it actually sold over 20 million in the year 2021. So last year we had the S21, the S21 Plus, and the S21 Ultra. All three of those combined sold somewhere estimated between 20 and 25 million. So the tiny little year-old iPhone SE 2020 outsold all three of the main flagship phones that Samsung made last year. So it's really funny to me that people think that nobody wants this phone or that this phone design is outdated and it's something people don't want. Well, that's not the case at all. And this one will sell well as well. It's one of those ones where people walk in, they see the iPhone, they want to get it because it's not an expensive phone. And I'm kind of irritated with the whole, oh, this is not a budget phone at $429. Look, yes, you can go get a $100 or $200 Android phone. Those exist. There's no such thing as a $200 or a $300 Apple phone. Apple makes premium phones. They consider themselves to be a premium phone brand. And it's really odd that people are calling for this phone design to go away and like, well, they could take off Touch ID. I'm like, well, that's why people want it. People want the phone because it has Touch ID. They don't like Face ID. I know a lot of people that refuse to move over to, back in the day, an iPhone 10 or a 10s or an 11 or 12 or 13. They don't want to deal with Face ID. They just want to be able to press the home button. Also, not everybody is chasing after a large screen. Yes, it's a 4.7-inch screen, but if you remember back to the dark times, it was a long time before we finally got a phone with a larger screen. It wasn't until we got the 6 Plus that we got the larger screen, which was the 5.5-inch, and then the iPhone 10 finally gave us a 5.8, which they stuck with for a long time. So a 4.7-inch screen, yes, the other complaint is it's only 720p. Well, when you have a 720p resolution on a 4.7-inch screen, it's well over 300 pixels per inch, which at that size is pretty decent. And then also the argument that it doesn't have a bright enough screen. Well, it's about 500 nits brightness, which is not the greatest in the world. We can admit that. That's not a big deal. And a lot of people are saying, well, they should just use the iPhone 13 mini as the iPhone SE is the next one. Well, they've already said they're going to discontinue the mini because I don't think it's selling that well. People don't want to pay $699 for a tiny phone, but they'll very gladly pay $399 or $429. Also, the argument that the phone is overpriced. Well, if you look at the Android world, the best Android processor you can get is the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, arguably. And how many of those do you see in the United States in a $400 body? They just don't exist. So what Apple is doing here is they're giving you tons of power, more power than you'll ever need, and they're going to support it for forever. If you look around, the original iPhone SE is still kicking. People are still using it. The iPhone 6s has been out for over 7 years now and is still supported getting software updates. So that's old technology. If you look at what you get now in the same body style with an A15 Bionic processor, it's now got 3 gigs of RAM. The last one had 3 as well, but I mean, looking at the iPhone 6s, it had less. I think it was like 1.5 or 2 gigs of RAM. This phone is going to be good for a long time, a really long time. It's going to get supported for probably 7, maybe even more years than that, which is just uncanny because over in the Android side of the house, we're just now starting to see 5 years of security patches and 4 years of software updates, which is the best you can get with Samsung. Google only offers 3 years of OS and 5 years of security. So looking at a phone that probably 7+ years from now is still going to get operating system updates and still going to get the latest and greatest and also security patches, I don't really see the complaint here because you're paying for all of that bundled into the same product. And then it's a nice small form factor. It's made improvements, of course, since the original iPhone SE and the 6S and the 8. But also people don't take into consideration the transition right now because a lot of older phones may not support voice over LTE. They're in the middle of the transition of phasing out 3G on T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, I think, next year. A lot of older phones won't work anymore. So people who've been hanging on to like an iPhone 5, an iPhone 6, a 5S, an SE, a 6S, even an 8 with the older processor and all that stuff, this is a considerable upgrade that's going to be supported for a long time for a group of people who like this design and want to keep using it and don't want to move over to the new one. So when you've got about 50 million people that have bought these in the last 2 years, even outselling the best that Samsung has to offer, and not just one model, but all 3. There's a lot of stuff to consider here, but here's the biggest thing is choice. Leave people alone. You don't have to not be able to afford a bigger phone to want to buy this because that's just simply not a true statement or a good argument. When you look at the iPhone SE, a lot of people don't want to spend $1,000, but also you get such value with this phone because not only do you get an iPhone, you get iMessage, you get iTunes, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Card, Apple Pay, all these things that everybody loves so much, plus the interconnectivity if you get an Apple Watch, if you get an iPad, if you get a MacBook Pro, or whatever you want to get, you get all that connectivity. It's all seamless, and you're not paying a whole lot of money for it. All that, and then taking into consideration the argument of choice. For the longest time, people hated and hammered on iPhone and Apple for a long time because we had 2 models. We had the regular, and then we had the Plus, and then we finally got the 10. So then we finally moved away from that and started getting a little bit more diversity, but then we finally got the Plus. There was not a whole lot of iPhones out there floating on the market. You were stuck with 1 or 2 designs, and now Apple is basically the king of choice because not only do they offer them, they support them for a really, really long time, and they put the best silicon processors you can get, so they're going to have guaranteed high performance for a long time, which is just fantastic. The longest time, people hated on Apple for lack of choice, and now Apple's giving you more choice than most brands, supporting them, and giving you multiple price points of entry, and people are upset about that. You don't need to get rid of the iPhone SE. I guarantee you people like it, and it's going to sell. If you don't like it and you want to get a smaller phone, get the iPhone 13 mini, get the iPhone 12 mini. If you want to bump up a little bit more, get the 6.1 inch, get the iPhone 13, get the iPhone 12. Heck, you can pay less than $500 and get the iPhone 11, which is a really, really good phone. So it's not like people don't have options. And then if you want to go swing for the fences, get the iPhone 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max. There are so many different Apple models out there, and you get the continuity, the consistency, and the performance where they basically run identically, other than just the fact that they might look or be shaped a little bit differently. I think that it's a good thing that they're still making this. And then you talk about, again, $429. Look, it's got 3 gigs of RAM, a 12 megapixel processor. It's got the deep fusion now. You're going to get better pictures than ever with this solo camera that's on there. You still got the 7 megapixel selfie camera. You get 64 gigs of storage, which, yeah, that's not the greatest, but it's a small compact form factor, and the iPhone 13 just finally gave us 128 gigabytes baseline. Last year, the iPhone 12 had 64. Weren't a whole lot of people complaining about it then. So I think there's a lot of people just looking for a reason to invalidate this phone and the choice that people clearly want when it comes to this phone. And again, this phone is not for them. They would never carry it in the first place. So it's one of those things where I advocate heavily for the consumer, for value, for getting your money's worth and getting a good phone. And this one if you're interested in it, it's going to be a fantastic phone. It's going to work out great. It's going to work for years. And if you're moving over from the same size, same type of phone before, you're going to be really happy because it's giving you the exact same thing you had. You don't have to change. You can do your transfer straight over onto the phone, be ready to go in a matter of probably less than half an hour with this new flagship level, smaller form factor iPhone SE. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to place some perspective on this. I didn't even want to talk about the iPhone SE anymore, but I spent so much time arguing with people about this the other day, well into the wee hours of the night, and I thought, you know what? A lot of people are going to get a really bad impression from this because there's just so many people out there saying such negative things when it's really just not the case. And I mean, come on, an A15 processor, 5G, and that's the other thing too. The 5G is going to give you such an expanded network, and people think that this is really going to kill the battery. It's not the ultra wideband. It's not the millimeter wave. It's the sub-6 5G. Basically, it's 5G extended network. With the 3G and 2G going away, we need more bands, but also the A15 processor is the first one that has had 5G paired with it. So some people are saying, well, why not put an A13 and add 5G? Well, that's a 7 nanometer processor instead of the 4. The 4 is much more power and energy efficient. So if you try to put a 5G processor with the A13, which is a 7 nanometer, it's going to burn up way more battery, and you're definitely not going to get great battery life. So I project that they're saying you're going to get 2 extra hours of battery life over this out of the, I believe, the iPhone 8. That's probably pretty accurate. You'll get at least probably 4 hours of screen on time with the 5G, which is what I got with the last iPhone SE 2020 anyway. So with the adaptive network connectivity, adaptive battery, all the smart stuff that Apple puts in their software, you're going to be fine, folks. And if you want this phone, be happy, go out and get it and enjoy the phone. That's the moral of the story here, and ultimately is choice. You have choice. Why wouldn't we want that? In a world where people like Samsung are taking away phones, where LG is gone, where there's no more BlackBerry phones, we're losing phones left and right. Let's hang on to the ones that people want and let them enjoy it. And I think Apple is onto something there, especially $429. I think that's a pretty fair price point for what you get. So that's all I got. What do you think? You think it's a good phone? Do you think it's something? Do you think it's all these negative things that you hear all over the place? Or do you think it's probably a more reasonable kind of projection on what the phone is and who is for and why it is there? Kind of like what I talked about here. I think it has a good place. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.